Hi, I'm Michael Dangermond from the Living Atlas team at Esri, and I'm pleased to announce that um, our land cover layer of the United States, the NLCD land cover, has been newly updated. This has been going on for some time over at MRLC, which is the producer of this data set. They went back to the beginning of the century and reprocessed their data and released 8 images in series going back from the beginning of the century to 2019. And what we've done at the Living Atlas is um, packaged it as a time series animation by default and made it easy to come into our software and done some other tricks that make it easier to use on your end. And I wanted to show you some of those things some of those features in the layer. The layer is called USA NLCD Land Cover, and the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to use it in what's now called the Map Viewer Classic. That is the online map viewer. And then also we have a new map viewer, and I'll show you some of the features of that map viewer and how the layer, where the layer comes in that map viewer, and special ways you can use it in there. And then after that, what I will do is show you how to bring it into ArcGIS Pro and re-symbolize it and do some analysis with it there, so that you can retrieve facts from the land cover data set with some standard tools. So first of all, let's go to arcgis.com, and which is where you would find ArcGIS Online, and sign in. And I'll choose one of my many login names. Today I'm with the content team, and so here we click on Map, and what will happen there is it is late September 2021, and right now the behavior is that it comes in the Map Viewer Classic. And how do we add the NLCD time series into Map Viewer Classic? Well, you click on Add, and you browse the Living Atlas layers. Then under Living Atlas, you can do a search. You can do NLCD. Find it that way. There's the layer. You can also, now this works maybe because I'm in the United States, but land cover, and it comes in near the top here as well. If you haven't yet, check out this Esri 2020 land cover that we produced this summer. It's 10-meter land cover of the whole world. It's a little bit different method, and but I'm digressing here. Let's take a look at how to add this. You just click the plus button, and you can see the first thing that shows up is this time slider here. So you press play, and it plays like an animation. It just comes in that way. And let's zoom into Phoenix, which has experienced a lot of growth since the beginning of this century. And you can see quite literally the urban areas expanding as the years tick by here. So there are 8 years where you will see it change. First is 2001, the latest is 2019, and then there's 6 other years in between there where you will see it change. And I hope you saw Phoenix filling in right there. And then it goes back to the beginning and starts over. Now, if you want to use it in the new map viewer, what you can do is open it from here, is one way of doing it. So let's proceed without saving, and it will open the map viewer for you, and then we'll add the layer in there. I'll show you how to do that. This is an upgrade from the prior map viewer. There's a lot of interesting ways to manipulate data sets in here. that are new, that are similar to Photoshop. And I'm really excited about that because I've been making maps for decades and I've never seen anything quite like this. It's very exciting. So what I've done here, did I explain what I was doing here? I was so excited about this. So you click Add Layer. I have this Layers tab here, Add Layer, and I'm going to type NLCD like before. Hit Enter, and then here we are. We've got the Add button. I'm going to add it here. This impervious time series, that's going to be updated too in a few weeks. So watch for that. This tree canopy cover, this isn't a time series, but we try to keep this at the latest version, and then sometime next year they'll be releasing a time series or a series of images for those, and we will arrange those into a time series as well. Now you'll see this time slider comes right into the new map viewer, and we can zoom in. Let's zoom in on Las Vegas area and Lake Mead. This is some of the area of the most dramatic change in America's land cover in recent years. So you can quite literally watch the urban areas of Las Vegas expand while the Lake Mead shrinks. One didn't necessarily cause the other, but they are occurring at the same time. And it's pretty interesting to watch this in the time series. We have other layers that have a time series. The USA Cropland is one, but it comes in by default. And there's some ways you can work with that. Let's click on the Layers tab again. And when you click on the layer, now when you look on the right-hand side, everything is gray. But you click on the layer and it enables a lot of changes that you would like to make to the layer. Straight away it takes you to symbology, and so this is the default symbology that ESRI has put together. But there are several types of symbology here that you can use when you click on processing templates. Now, what processing templates do in this case, a lot of them are for purely cartographic reasons. We have the MRLC cartographic renderer. So we have, if you want to use the stock colors that MRLC land cover was shipped with, we have those there as a processing template. We have collapsed some of the classes into some simplified classes. So here, if we look at the legend, we'll see it's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes of land cover in the simplified renderer, where if you go to the cartographic renderer, it shows all of the classes, even moss and cultivated crops and so on. Now, down here at the bottom, there's a few that act sort of like filters. You can think of processing templates as a bit like filters in Instagram, but they also work for analysis. You can filter them that way. But let's see, we can look at just the forest. Yes, there's forest in the Las Vegas area up in the mountains. You can look at just the developed areas alone, and you can see here in the legend, the developed classes are the only ones that are displayed. Then there's one called a saturated one. Now this gives everything an extra strong color, and the reason the layer was shipped with this is for use with blend modes and effects. Now these are new things that are in the new map viewer. So the blend modes you access through the properties here at the bottom. You see where it says blending, and we have normal. Now we can dial back the transparency here, and we get similar results as the default color scheme, but you can see that things start to show up through the transparent layer. And even more, if we change it from a normal blend mode to multiply, you're just going to have so much fun trying these out. If you go to multiply, you can see what we've done is just multiplied the color by the base map that's underneath. So we have the relief shows right through. Now, in addition to blend modes, what we have now are these effects, and these are really amazing. I mean, you'll want to spend some time with these effects if you haven't already, but it's very similar to Photoshop. You can apply a blur to the layer. I'm sure you get all kinds of ideas from this. Let's turn that off. Or, change it to grayscale, sepia tone. You're going to want to spend some time with some of these effects, and you can make really amazing maps with these. Okay, so I've shown you around this time series in the new map viewer, but let's show you how to use it in Pro. Let's switch over to ArcGIS Pro, where we have, this is Loudoun County in Virginia. So over here on the east is Washington, D.C., and then the Dulles International Airport is right here. And this county in Virginia is experiencing a lot of growth. It's been growing quite a bit in the 21st century. So let's add the time series animation to this. So we go to Map and Add Data, and then on the left-hand side, the tab, Living Atlas and NLCD. It's the same. We're just searching for the layer, and you can see the 3 USA NLCD layers. The one we want is the land cover, and we'll add that. It will show up here on the left with the legend, and then the time series appears above it as well. Now you can control the time series. You can make it go faster and slower by clicking on this time ribbon. And I'm going to turn it up to fast so you can really see it changing. And start the animation. And what you should see are these areas on the east that are close to Washington, D.C., growing over this period of time. So we got 2007, 8, 2009. It looks like a new runway is being built in Dulles International. Now, I would need to look that up to see if that's indeed what happened to the airport. But you can see this development moving west from the Washington metropolitan area into Loudoun County. And what an interesting thing to study. You could compare the first year with the last year and see how much more development has occurred in Loudoun County during that time frame. So what we can do is then we can turn off the time series, and what it will do is display all of them together, which is not very convenient. All of the 8 years in a series. But how do we specify just one of these years in the series? So the way we do that is right-clicking and go to Properties and apply a definition query. Now here in the definition query, we're going to choose start year is equal to 2019. I happen to know that's the latest year of the series, the most recent year. And it's going to display. There it is. There's 2019. And what we want to find out is how much of each land cover class is there in 2019 in Loudoun County. And to do that, we will click on the Analysis tab and Tools, and here under Geoprocessing, we can find the Extract by Mask tool. By mask. Huh. Fingers are not working right now. Then add that. And we can, as the input raster. Now what Extract by Mask does is it uses our shape of Loudoun County as a mask and extracts to a new image file that's going to be local on our machine from the layer, and puts it in our default geodatabase. So what I'm going to choose here as the mask data is USA counties. That's another layer from the Living Atlas, by the way, where I've just applied this definition query. And I'm going to extract to this output raster. And before I do that, I want to limit the analysis extent to just what's in my current display extent. And that can be a real time saver, to limit the extent of the analysis. Otherwise, I click Run. Otherwise, it will run, I don't know if it's the whole 50 states plus Puerto Rico, and we have only the 8 years in a series in the lower 48 states and Washington, D.C. now. So in Alaska, there are a few years in a series, but it's not 8 years. And Hawaii is something totally different. We've had to actually reclassify data from NOAA to approximate the same classes that we have in NLCD. And Puerto Rico, I've got angry email about this already, but Puerto Rico hasn't had an update since 2001. So if you're listening, MRLC, Puerto Rico needs an update. So over here at Extract USA 3, let's look at the attribute table. Well, first of all, let's turn off the old service, because the old layer. So we're turning off the layer, and we have this local copy right here of just Loudoun County, where it's extracted by the mask. And so now when we look at the attribute table, we can see the count of pixels for each of these classes. Now the count of pixels, one pixel is 30 meters by 30 meters, so that's 900 square meters. So that's that's the unit of area in this table. If you want a different unit like square kilometers or acres, you can add another field here and multiply, and then you have the number of acres in 2019 for that. In addition, you can do the same extract by mask using the year 2001 by applying a different definition query like I showed you. Then you can compare the two. You can compare the count before and after those 18 years in between, and you can quantify how much change there's been in the land cover during that time frame. All right, well, today I showed you how to use this new layer and display the time series, to use it in the map viewer, and also to do a little analysis with it in ArcGIS Pro. Thank you so much for coming with me today and checking out this layer and sharing my excitement about it. In another month, we're going to have 8 years in a series as well for the imperviousness of the land cover of the United States. So stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot for coming, and take care.